And I thought I had all the news today, and then you messaged me about, 30 minutes ago and said, hey,
Yep.
have you seen what's going on with Fox and WWE and everything? So I had a look, and here's the TKO press release, TKO being WWE and UFC's new name since the merger.
Just released. Well, this comes out Friday. It just released yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's just been released like in the last 30 or 45 minutes.
The press release, let me give you the short version. NBC Universal and TKO Holdings have agreed to a 5-year domestic media rights partnership that will bring Friday Night SmackDown back to USA Network beginning October 2024. Additionally, beginning in the 2024-25 season, WWE will produce 4 primetime specials per year that will air on NBC, marking the first time WWE will air on network in prime time. Or on the network, at least. As part of WWE and NBC Universal's long-standing relationship, USA Network is currently home to WWE NXT and blah, 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 blah. So, we don't know what's going to be happening with NXT and Raw yet, but you told me this, and I think I got it slightly wrong. I said somewhere else 1.5 billion. You said 1.4 billion is what WWE, or TKO, excuse me, has managed to generate for SmackDown for 5 years.
$1.4 billion.
More than I'm making a week, that, seriously.
Yeah. I tell you, I need a raise on this podcast stuff. But 1.4 billion over 5 years, that's 300 million a year almost, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's now years and years and years ago, how this is filtered down, they treated wrestling as like a paid commercial. And they would charge the companies to show their tape. And when they finally found out, well, it does a hell of a number. Memphis, I'll go by Memphis rating. They were on at 11 o'clock every Saturday morning live. And they did numbers. They did ratings that was equal to prime time. I mean, it was beating NBC and CBS and ABC. But back in those days, you only had the 3 major networks. I think Fox was just trying to get started up. But the wrestling show did, I mean, just in Memphis, they had a viewership of about, I think, between 400,000 and 500,000 on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. Of course, we've talked about that before.
And population was what, like 700,000 or something like that, was it?
Well, the area was probably 1.5 million, probably.
Oh, sorry.
The city was only about 400,000 then, bigger now, but it was, and they didn't even pay Jerry Jarrett. They didn't even pay Jerry Jarrett for the show. What they did a barter deal where they wouldn't charge him anything if he would just put the show on, and they would just go back. I guess they got all the commercial money, so they really came out on the better end of the deal. But anyway, that money for WWE and Endeavor, or TKO, what does TKO stand for?
Tony Khan something.
That's what I was thinking. Tony Khan Organization. Hey, that's a good name for it. But 1.4 billion for they get 104 weeks a year. I mean, 52 weeks a year, 2 hours. That's when I got 104 hours. That's what I'm talking about. And it's going to pay off for them because they're going to USA and NBC. Where are they going?
So they're going to the USA Network, and they're going to be doing 4 primetime specials per year on NBC in primetime. I want to bring up...
wrestling made USA Network.
Yeah.
It made it.
Well, I think that's why they're buying it back for this huge amount of money, because without WWE, USA Network would be dead in the water. I mean, Raw, even with the sagging ratings at the moment because of the NFL and everything else, is propping up that channel. So they're desperate to get WWE back, and apparently at almost any cost, to bring USA Network back to prominence in the ratings.
So what were they getting from Fox?
So, I'm glad you asked. It was announced in 2018, June 26th, that the 2019 start, I think it was in October, they were getting $205 million per year from 2019 to 2024. So what does that work out as? Just over $1 billion. And I think Raw was bought by USA Network for a fairly similar amount as well.
Well, they got them a nice little raise.
Mm-hmm.
From 205 million?
Yeah, 205 to
year?
what? I don't know, 285 million a year, something like that, let's say.
That's a pretty good bump.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I read something the other day, and it says they were asking Vince. Vince had a company-wide meeting, I read, and where he was talking to the employees, and he said that WWE had plateaued, and they had to make changes for its next advancement. And I'm thinking, well, what the hell is the next? What could that be? Did you read that?
I did read that. Maybe it was like, I don't know, first wrestling promotion on Mars. I don't know what they could be doing next. Because I won't give them ideas. Max Moon, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be good. But I'm thinking, what could they do to beat this? Oh, while we're talking about it, I want to bring this up. Mm-hmm. A lot of debate over whether The Rock is going to make WrestleMania 40.
We will be getting to The Rock. We will be getting to The Rock a little later. Before we do that, though, do bear with me. We will be... in fact, I want to bring this up to you. Raw has been doing absolutely the worst views they've ever done, apart from like one best of show. That can be attributed to the NFL. But the problem is that while SmackDown's doing really good viewership numbers for the most part, probably not hurt by the fact that there's a writer's strike and there's just a lot of repeats going on in American TV at the moment, is that that's sort of what is killing Raw. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, because ABC's now showing the NFL as well as ESPN, aren't they? Is that right?
I'll take your word for it, maybe.
Okay, so basically NFL's on network TV going against Raw as well as ESPN, where it would normally be. And that's what's just absolutely murdering Raw's numbers at the moment. So I'm wondering how much Raw will get, because SmackDown's been doing some of the best viewership they've been doing since 2019, 2020. Now Raw's doing the worst viewership of all time, but it's because of the NFL. But I wonder how that's going to affect the price for Raw and not NXT, but how much it'll affect Raw when those negotiations come up.
Interesting question. I wish I had an answer for it. But let me tell you one thing that hurts Raw, and it's hurt them forever. It's the third hour. It's hard to get somebody brother, if you told me, watch this movie, it's 3 hours, I said, screw that. I'm not doing that, because that's a commitment.
You ever seen Lord of the Rings? That's why I won't watch it. It's 3.5 hours of film.
No, I may have seen parts of Lord of the Rings, but for 3 hours, hey, give me, this is my limit, 2 hours to 2 hours and a half. I can go that. But when it gets to 3, nah, I'm not doing it. I saw a movie not too long ago, Oppenheimer. You see it?
No, I haven't had the chance to go and see it, no.
Great movie to 2 hours in, because, you know, it's about this guy named Oppenheimer who developed the hydrogen, the atomic bomb that the U.S. dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And it was good, telling the story up to the point that they finally dropped the bombs. And then the guy ends up going back to Washington and everybody ripping him a new one. And now he's not such a, I mean, if the last hour is just boring as hell. But it was a good movie up to then.
Another thing that we got mentioned of quite a lot is when you said, and I think I said as well, when we were talking about the podcasts, and you said, who can sit there and listen to a 5-hour podcast or a 4-hour podcast? And I should have brought up, and they were right to say that, there's a lot of people at work or a lot of people doing long drives that sort of use these podcasts as just like almost like the radio, just like background noise almost. So for people in those situations, that's a great thing for them. I know this has nothing to do with what you were saying, but people who can put up with the length of like a very long film or a very long podcast, no, different circumstances.
Well, again, I'm talking myself. I'm talking personally. You know, but I couldn't listen to the same two guys talking for 3 hours. Listen, I don't know. Maybe it's me. I don't know. But, you know, Bruce Pritchard used to do those long-ass podcasts. Mm-hmm. He'd do 4 hours sometimes. And I said, well, what the hell could he talk about for 4 hours except reading War and Peace by, what's the guy's name? The Russian? Tolstoy. Yeah, but, I mean, I think you should always give people that they want more, but you don't give it to them right then. They got to wait till the next week to get it. So anyway, I'm a stickler on time, and a 3-hour movie or a 3-hour podcast, yeah, it's too much. 2 hours is enough.
Mm-hmm.